Let's kick off from Nigeria. Now, we understand that amidst the challenges occasioned by the dollar scarcity, the Central Bank of Nigeria has assured Nigerians that it has adopted some strategies to address the situation. The governor of the CBN, that's Yemi Cardoso, gave the assurance on Tuesday, the 6th of February, at the resumption of the sectoral debate series organized by the House of Representatives. Cardoso will lamented the high cost of living in the country, however noted that the country's economy is now better than what it was in the past administration, saying that the current President Bola Tinubu is trying to make it better from where, of course, Muhammadu Buhari, his predecessor, left it on May 29th, 2023. Before we introduce our guest, to give us a clearer perspective to what Nigerians are actually facing, News Central's correspondent, that's Neomoni, actually put together a package. Take a listen.
Is a view of what a food item list for an average Nigerian home looks like, with items such as rice, beans, curry, vegetable oil costing nearly a fortune.
For me to stock my home for a month, it would take like 250k. Yes, for you to buy everything, the curry, the beans, the rice, everything.
Rice is even worse, because at least rice was, before you can cook concoction with anything, your family will eat, but now rice, the kind of rice is 1.5 for the clean one, while the Nigerian rice is 1,001. With one full of stone. So it's only God that will help us.
For restaurant owners like Israel, who makes soup and stew which is accompanied by a Nigerian swallow or rice, amongst others, the choice to cook these revolves around luxury or necessity.
Everything now for Nigeria is so expensive, and like in my own house, if I want to eat food, because I'm not yet married, so I will know the kind of food that I will buy, so that, because everybody now is managed, everybody is managed.
The minimum wage in Nigeria has been steady at 30,000 naira since 18 April 2019, although there has been calls for an increase to 200,000 naira and even 450,000 naira. The dream seems far-fetched.
The margin we had before was from 18,000 to 30, which was over 100%. And the question is, even 100% of 30,000 leaves us at 60. Can that take Nigerian workers home?
As the rising food costs push Nigeria's inflation rate to 28.9%, for most Nigerians, some of those food items have become essential commodities.
Before, I used to buy maybe half bag of rice, sometimes quarter, but now I don't even bother to buy it again. We just, we eat everything we see, not what we like before, just anything we see, we eat.
Just told my children, don't waste food though. Before, they are full flags to school, I can full it, but now I have to ration it so that sometimes they come back with food, but now they will finish, mommy, that food is not okay, but manage it.
Staple food items that many Nigerians rely on for sustenance have seen substantial price rises. The average price of a carton of noodles have increased to 5,900 naira, while a bag of rice now costs 70,000 naira on average. Plantains, a commonly consumed vegetable, are selling for 500 to 1,000 naira per 5 strands. The cost of a kilogram of Titus fish and chicken has risen to 3,000 naira and 3,500 naira respectively, with others like bread, yam and egg costing nearly an arm or leg. These rising prices outpace Nigeria's minimum wage, which has become insufficient to cover the basic needs of average person, giving additional living expenses such as transportation, healthcare and housing. Is it likely to get better, or should Nigerians brace up for the days ahead?
While many hope that Nigerian government does something quickly about the situation, a general term, thank you, used for this kind of period is called the survival mode in Nigeria. In Lagos for News Central, Ni Omani.
That just gives you an idea of what the average Nigerian family is going through at the moment. Well, to, of course, shed more light on this and expand the conversation, I am joined on the program by Francis O.C. Isedu, of course, a business analyst from Abuja, and also Dayo Kayode, a socio-political technocrat from Lagos. Gentlemen, thank you for joining the program.
Thank you for having me.
All right, I understand that it's just you for now, Francis. Well, I'm sure that, of course, that Dayo will join in the course of the program. Now, let me start off with this very open question. How much do you spend now on feeding? I believe you have a family.
I'm in Nigeria. I'm not outside of Nigeria. I live in Nigeria. I do everything in Nigeria. So it's not been easy in the past 6 months. The inflation rate and everything is just unbearable. And I think government should begin to think of doing something drastically to address it.
I mean, it's really, really disturbing that items as basic as feeding is almost a luxury. I mean, in that particular report, a lady said she spends about 250,000 naira, monthly just to feed her family. I mean, looking at the current realities where we see the price of things go up, particularly when it comes to basic amenities, and incomes are stagnated. What does this portend for an average Nigerian?
Yeah, if I begin to address this issue, we must go back and be realistic with ourselves. We must go back to the beginning of this administration. The first thing that this administration should look at is they must admit the fact that those two major policy pronouncements they made at the beginning of the administration is what is affecting everything. No matter what the CBN Governor says, no matter what any economist says, everything can be traced to those two policy statements. That's floating of the Naira and the fuel subsidy removal in a very sudden manner. So those two policy statements changed the economic atmosphere of Nigeria, and I don't think the government really sat down to think deep about those two policies before making those pronouncements. I think they made those pronouncements and they're just now trying to see what they can do about it. But my advice is that they should begin to do something about it urgently, just like they announced those policies suddenly. They must drastically begin to address these issues and stop making political statements like opposition are the ones instigating people to go on protests. We're all in Nigeria. We all see what's going on. And if nothing is done, these protests might spread to other cities. So government must address this urgently.
I mean, we'll get to the, of course, the meeting the CBN Governor had with the House. But let's invite Dayo Kayode to the conversation right now. The same question I asked you, Francis, I would also ask Dayo. Dayo, I believe you're a resident in Nigeria. You live in Nigeria. You work in Nigeria. You go through the same issues an average Nigerian goes through. So I would also ask you the same question. What's it like? How much do you spend on feeding and taking care of the family now compared to what it used to be?
Living in Nigeria is even beyond feeding. Because when you're talking about human existence, you got to talk about feeding, you got to talk about housing, you got to talk about clothing, and you got about taking care of the children. All right? So the way it is now in Nigeria, it is highly excruciating towards taking care of such issues that determines human existence. All right? And that is why today you are seeing not only kidnappers, we have not been taking care or looking at the increased rate of cannibalism, even in Nigeria.
Cannibalism, you say? Right? Sorry, I'm sorry to cut in there. You say cannibalism.
Cannibalism.
Do you have facts to substantiate this, please?
Yes. We are now seeing situations whereby dogs are eating dogs.
Okay, do you mean cannibalism within the actual context, or? Okay.
You remember Clifford Orji in Oshodi?
Yes.
In those days, you remember?
Yes.
All right? These days, you even see parents selling their children to feed. I will give you an example.
Okay.
I will give you an example, a empirical example that happened in Oshogbo and that was recorded in the media. A woman went to the market with her daughter and bought Gary, 1 pint of Gary. She now pretended as if she had forgotten the money at home. Ina said, "Oh girl, stay. Let me quickly go and bring money so that I can pay them. We take this Gary to go and eat." The whole day, the Gary seller did not see the woman coming around. All right? The woman now went to the police station. And the small guy now led the policemen to their house in that same Oshogbo. The woman was apprehended. The woman now said that, listen, the whole house had been hungry, no money to buy food. And the only thing they can do then was to use that girl as a bait to be able to get Gary and prepare food for the house to eat, because they know definitely they will bring that girl back. What do we call that? Is that not cannibalism in another form? Using your own child as a bait to be able to feed the rest of the family? Have you also heard about 2 days ago about a particular couple selling their child for, I think, 500,000 naira to be able to survive? Is that the kind of country we are praying for? Is that the kind of country that our so-called president had used 30 years to prepare to rule? Listen, I can go on and on and on, but it's amazing that in quotes now, Central Bank Governor Cardoso and the Finance Minister Wale Edu cannot arrest this. And they are saying they are out to improve, to ensure that our economy improves. Now, let me tell you, what are the essentials that are embedded in any society's economy? It has, the only thing that it has to do is within the survival of the people, the well-being of the people, living in an environment that is acceptable worldwide.
All right, now let's talk about, I'm sorry to cut in, Dayo. You've said quite a number of things, but let's, of course, streamline this to the recent hearing or the presentation the CBN Governor did make, not just himself, but those in charge of the economy, of the country's economy. You know, we are asked to come and speak to the nation on the plans and, of course, if they are abreast of the current happenings. Part of those that spoke includes the CBN Governor, the chairman of the FIRS, the Minister of Finance, and, of course, just a few others. So part of what the CBN Governor did say, I wish that graphic could come up right now. He talked about how some of the strategies that, of course, is being introduced, in his words, to address the exchange rate volatility. A comprehensive strategy has been initiated to enhance liquidity in the foreign exchange markets. This includes unifying exchange market segments, clearing outstanding FX obligations, introducing new operational mechanism for BDCs, enforcing the net open position at limit, and also adjusting the remunerable standing deposit facility cap. I mean, end of quote. So, I mean, he said quite a number of things, but this is just one of it. I'd like to know your reaction to this assertion by the CBN Governor, Francis.
Yeah, well, The issue we have on ground is beyond the CBN governor giving rhetorics. Things are getting out of hand. Many of these things the CBN governor is saying or said the other day, they are not new to us. These things have been said before. Remember, there was a time the CBN said they were expecting some money, about $10 billion inflow that would come into the economy, and that would push down the exchange rate. Then the exchange rate was like 1,100 or 1,000 when they said this, and nothing happened. So I just think all what the CBN is saying is just rhetoric. What the CBN should do is to intervene intentionally, begin to put in drastic interventions, things that can push down the exchange rate in the immediate. One, the CBN should begin to look at the banks. I heard the other day that they're trying to force banks to bring out the funds, the dollar funds they have in their vaults. CBN should look at the banks critically. CBN should maybe come up with new policies that will force banks to release the funds with them, and also to begin to see what they can do with the BDCs. So because this exchange rate, the problem is between banks, BDCs, and the CBN. That triangle, the CBN should look at it again. CBN should look at how to formulate new policies or new guidelines or something new that is in the immediate, not economic theories and things that will happen in 2 years' time, in 3 years' time. We are looking at something that will force, just like a patient that has sudden rise in its BP. There are sudden drugs that are given to force the BP down in the immediate. Because if you don't do that, that patient might die, or that patient might go into a stroke. So there must be a forceful reduction of the exchange rate, and that can only come from the CBN. We cannot say we're waiting for one government policy to mature that will begin to bring down.
I'm sorry, Francis, you said a forceful reduction of the exchange rate, and that can only come from the CBN. But many a times they've said it's a function of the capital market, or demand and supply. So how can the CBN forcefully influence this?
Okay, if the CBN cannot manage its...
I'm coming to you, Dayo. I know you want to talk.
Okay, am I still talking?
Yes, it's you, Francis.
Okay.
Dayo, we'll get to you.
Let me tell you this.
Dayo, please 1 minute. We'll get to you. Let's listen to Francis first.
That's okay.
Okay, Francis.
Yeah, the role of the CBN is very critical now. I understand foreign direct investments, foreign inflows, so that dollars will come in, diaspora monies, and all that. Before those policies begin to materialize, it might take time, and dollar would have gotten to 2,000. I can predict to you now confidently from what I see, and from the way I see CBN handling the issues now, dollar might be getting to 2,000 by June, July, August. Might get it to 2,000. And by the time dollar gets to 2,000, what do you think is going to happen? So we don't have time for long-term or medium-term interventions. We need immediate interventions. CBN must look at how to bring out the monies in CBN. CBN will look at what the BDCs are doing. I understand they raided the BDCs the other day. Those are not policies. You don't raid the CBN, the BDCs for what? Those are not policies. So they must sit down, because there's a problem now, and look for immediate and quick fixes. And these fixes must come from CBN, banks, and BDCs. They must look at what to do. How can they push money into the hands of the BDCs? How can they monitor the BDCs? Because you can't blame the BDCs, because the BDCs will always operate according to demand and supply. When you have so much demand and the supply is not there, what do you expect? Rates will begin to go up. So CBN must begin to do something. I don't expect the CBN governor to be sleeping. Right now, the CBN governor should not be sleeping. The board of CBN should not be sleeping.
All right.
They must tackle these issues. Or else, the protests they are seeing might multiply.
All right, Francis, we'll get back to you. Let's listen to Dayo and let's get his reaction to this. Dayo, the floor is yours. Let's hear your reaction.
Yes. You see, what we are saying is just like Yoruba adage that says, where we are going is not far, but we are a lot of distractions to affect the source of our vision. If we are looking at improving the economy of the country, we have to first of all understand the level of economic inclusiveness of the people. How do I mean? What is the percentage of Nigerians that are controlling our economy? Not up to 1%. And these people are holding the old naira, the old dollar that is giving our naira the problem. That's number one. Number two, when we are talking of foreign direct investment, these people are coming with dollars. Now tell me, how many of them are coming through the central bank in terms of the state governors? In terms of the state governors, how many of these dollars are being held in the vault, private vault of state governors? We got to look at that. Again, we got to understand the definition of trade circle. What is trade circle? Trade circle is when you have sold your product, and at the end of the day, the proceed accruing from that trading has come back to you. Now tell me, our crude oil that we have been selling outside the country, where are the dollars? How many of those dollars are being declared by NNPC? Okay, other exports by private individuals, have they been declaring the dollars that have been accrued? So, what do we have? Inconclusive trading. Have you been looking at that?
You've said quite a number of things, Dayo, but I'm still going to go back. I'm still going to go back to the speech. Sorry, Dayo.
They are just backing doors. But are they not coming up now? There are now issues.
Dayo, sorry, I'm sorry to interject, but I'm still going to go back to the speech of the CBN governor, at the floor of the House. Another thing he said that might be mitigating factors to, of course, the fall of the naira or putting pressure on the naira is he talked about Nigerians studying abroad and also medical leave, or will I call it getting medical attention abroad. I wish that graphics could come up. We actually did break it down, saying that the percentage, the amount of Nigerians studying abroad right now compared to what it used to be has increased, and also people seeking medical attention from abroad has also gone up. So for that reason, there's an outflow of monies as against an inflow, of currency. So, that got quite a number of people talking. Although he further said he's not trying to point hands, or cast aspersion at anyone, but those are mitigating factors. My question is, are those factors strong enough?
No, they are not strong enough. Listen, when you are doing a kind of a comparative analysis, as regards that, you will see that they are not enough to put pressure on our naira to the extent that, number one, Tinubu, just last week, went to, I think, Senegal, to give them money to build state-of-the-art hospital and facility there. Why did you not give that money to Nigeria to do that? That's number one. Number two, if I could remember when I was in university, we normally have people from abroad doing exchange, they call it exchange studies with us there. Why? Because the facilities in our universities are of the international standard. Could you also remember that the kings, the sheikhs of the Arab nation used to come to UCH on medical tourism? What do we have today? So you see, if all this little money had been invested in those infrastructural facilities that will not make us to travel abroad to seek for those, we would not have been having what we are having. And the question is still this. It is never too late to start a race. Because in Yoruba, again, they will say, oh, you don't want that. That is to say, the song we are having now, when you wash your cloth, it can still make it to dry. If only we have purposeful, reasonable, and listening leaders.
Okay. Well, Dayo,
that can understand the yearnings, the needs, and agitations of the people.
Some would argue that maybe the current administration, might just be listening. But the question is, in terms of approach to resolving these issues, are they really, hitting the bullseye? That's the big question. But we need to go on a quick break. When we return, of course, we will pick up from where we stopped. Stay with us. You're still watching The Conversation, and we are, of course, x-raying the economic situation in Nigeria, what some will call a crisis. And, of course, to make sense of this, we still have with us Francis Isedu, that's business analyst from Abuja, and also Dayo, Kayode, sociopolitical technocrat from Lagos State. Gentlemen, thank you for hanging on. All right, great. Francis, this time around, I would like to start off with you, but I would still go back to what the CBN governor, part of the things the CBN governor did say. Now, Dayo was trying to establish the credibility of that, but I will still go back to it. Now, like you are seeing on your screen, part of what the CBN governor highlighted as being responsible for why the Naira, there's so much pressure, is in his words, another report projects that the number of Nigerian students studying abroad to exceed 100,000 by 2022. We know the number now. That's minus those that are, in Street Palace, Jakpa, or, with their families. Now, given this data, it's crucial to highlight that between 2010 and 2020, foreign education expenses amounted to a substantial $28.65 billion as per the CBN's publicly available balance of payment statistics. Now, similarly, medical treatments abroad has incurred around $11.01 billion in cost during the same period. Now, consequently, over the past decade, foreign exchange demand for education and healthcare has totaled to nearly $40 billion. Now, notably, this amount surpasses the total current foreign exchange reserves of the CBN. Mitigating a significant portion of this demand could result in a considerably stronger Naira today. Now, these were the exact words of the CBN, and he mentioned two critical factors, which, of course, I'm sure you would agree. An average Nigerian right now, we hear Jakpa, everybody talks about it. And then we also know that for quite a number, of Nigerians who can afford it when they need medical attention, some will say it's just, maybe the political class, that form a bulk of this, they fly abroad and spend this money there, right? Leading to an outflow. So I want to come to you, Francis. Would you say the CBN governor has a point, at this?
All right. My take on this is that I just think the CBN governor is just has to say something, because the situation got so bad that he can't just sit down in his office and not say something. So he must have been told to say something. He must have been forced to make a statement because of how bad the situation is. I believe those excuses are not tenable. People traveling abroad, the Japa syndrome, medical tourism. Okay, so if he says those are the reasons why the dollar exchange is going on, are we going to legislate that people should not travel out of Nigeria again? Are we going to legislate that there should not be medical tourism? Does he want to advise the president that they should stop medical tourism? Does he want to advise the president to send a bill to the National Assembly to legislate on the number of people that can go abroad? Nigeria runs human rights and constitution. So you can't legislate that people can't move. You can't legislate that people won't go abroad. So since you can't legislate on those things, so those things are cast in stone in Nigeria. People must go abroad. People must travel. You can't control that. So that's a fixed factor. So as long as you cannot control it, as the CBN governor or as a government, what are you going to do to mitigate against this Japa syndrome, this medical tourism, because they are fixed factors. You can't do anything about them. As long as the economy is not good, as long as the inflation rate is so high, as long as the educational system is so bad, as long as your social amenities and infrastructures are not good, Japa has come to stay. Japa is a fixed factor. So the CBN governor telling us that it has to do with number of people going out, the demand for it is not tenable. They are just rhetorics and they are just excuses. My advice is that the CBN governor should sit down with his team and come up. He's an economist for years. They must come up with a concrete solution. Also, I must say this. Another issue with this exchange rates issue is that there is corruption involved in it. Remember some years back, a year or two ago, the governor of Edo State was saying that monies were being printed. And if his party went against him, other governors rose against him, the government rose against him. But we must go back and look at that statement. There's a lot of corruption going on concerning this exchange rate. Remember the last CBN governor? All the allegations coming up now that people were collecting money from CBN at the CBN rates, and these monies were getting out into the market at black market rates. People were making as much as 100 naira, 200 naira spread. So we should also look at the issue of corruption in the exchange rate regime. What's happening with dollars that come in? Are foreign direct investments allowed to come in easily without corruption? I understand somebody was saying the other day that some foreign investors wanted to bring the money into the economy, to Nigeria, and people didn't allow them to because of corruption. People were asking for bribes, people were asking for this, people were asking for that, and they held their monies. So if such things continue, there is no way the exchange rate is going to come down. So the CBN should forget this issue of Japa or people moving abroad. It's come to stay. People should forget medical tourism as the reason why dollar. They should forget it. They should look at the issue of corruption in the exchange rate regime. And I said again, look at the banks, look at the BDCs, and CBN should look at themselves as well. Look inward. As long as there is no sincerity concerning this issue of exchange rates, I'm afraid nothing is going to change. And dollar will get to 2,000. God forbid. That's not my prayer. That's not what I want. But from what I can see and from my projections, from the things I've seen, because as it is, CBN seems to be at a loss. The government seems to be at a loss as to what to do. Because I can't see any concrete solution.
I'm sorry, Francis, but some would also argue that maybe these policies, in theory, if it's to be gone by, by the books in theory, maybe they are designed to actually work. However, the human factor through sabotage by some individuals who, have been profiting as a result of the ills, in the system, are determined to ensure that these policies, become a laughingstock. So don't you think there's also the issue of sabotage to some of these economic policies that, the government is putting in place?
No, please. I don't believe in the issue of sabotage. Government always come up with issue of sabotage as a lazy way out of issues. Look at people protesting the other day, and government came out and said it's a sabotage from the opposition. It's a lazy way of government looking at issues. It's a lazy way of people in government giving excuses for what is happening. How can we say there is sabotage? CBN has all the powers. The Constitution and the Act that set up CBN has given CBN immense powers. CBN has powers to regulate the banks. They have powers to regulate the BDCs. They have power to regulate the economy to some extent.
Francis,
for them to come out and say there is sabotage, it's not like when custom comes out and says there is sabotage. That's why they can't block they can't man our borders. People are sabotaging them. You have equipment, you have officers, there is budget of going into billions of naira every year for the organization, and they still come out and say there is sabotage. It's a lazy way of giving excuses. So I don't want to buy that.
All right, Francis. Well taken. Your point is well taken. I would like to listen to Dayo on this. I know, Dayo, you have quite a lot to say, so let's hear you.
If I have a lot to say, number one, when you're talking of sabotage, look at that your office. You have security. Your equipment are well secured. Your data, your documents are well secured. There is nobody that can come to that your office to steal any of your equipment or documents without an insider. Who is that insider? How many of you are working there? So the management must be able to decide, to know who that saboteur is, arrest the person, prosecute the person, and punish the person appropriately. That is one. Two, when you're talking about this foreign exchange thing we are discussing now, I need to give you some specifics on how to handle this issue. Number one, the first assignment of any chief executive of a nation, security and well-being of the people. And when you are talking about well-being of the people, it has to do with the living standard of the people. And of which two things control. When it comes to Nigeria, the price of the pump price of fuel and the exchange rate. That means those two things must be totally controlled to ensure that it gives the people the necessary standard, minimum living standard for the people. Which comes to say that every country of the world protects its own currency against other currencies. So why are we not protecting our own? Why are we not protecting our own? Number two, I was talking about economic inclusiveness the other time. Dangote that is now saying he wants to be importing fuel from America. Will that not also be putting pressure on our naira? So who is allowing that? How did they get the money to build up that refinery in the first instance? So why are you not patronizing the homemade crude oil? That is manufacturing companies that are remaining. For instance, look at Inosi Motors. Tell me, as federal government be patronizing that particular industry, how many state governors have been patronizing it? Rather, even National Assembly, importing exotic cars. Are these ones not putting pressure on our naira? And this is a government that is talking about, let us reduce the pressure on our naira by patronizing made in Nigerian goods. So how many of them are doing that?
All right, because we're pressed with time, Dayo, what sectors, sorry to interrupt, what sectors do you think needs urgent intervention to sort of, in the shortest possible time, boost the economy? What sectors in society do you think the government needs to either put policy attention on or even money into to ensure that in the quickest possible time, there's a boost in the economy? If you can just give us a 30-second answer.
Number one, the government must be deliberate in revitalizing most of our manufacturing industries. And those of them that are existing, they must be deliberate in giving policies that will encourage them. That's number one. Number two, the monetary policy especially must be geared towards protecting our naira against other currencies. Is it not absurd and disappointing that Benin Republic there, the value of the Benin Republic CFA is higher than Nigeria's naira? Why? So government must be deliberate in coming up with policies that will protect our naira rather than align market prices of demand and supply to do that, because there is fraud there. Then number three, there must be deliberate policy on restriction on some imports. Is it not absurd for Nigeria to be importing ordinary toothpick, razor blade? It is appalling. So, if only government can have deliberate policy as regards this, it's going to reduce the pressure on the naira. And especially, let us go back and look at direct supply, direct purchase policy of our crude oil by NNPC. Let us go and look at it. There is nothing like subsidy there. If we are sincere with that, if we can be sincere with that,
we need to move from you so that we can at least take...
the economy will move forward.
All right, we need to move from you so that we can at least take a 30-second response from Francis on this. What can be done in the shortest possible time, quickly?
All right, in the shortest possible time, the government must continue to encourage inflow of dollars into the economy. The existing transactions on FDIs sitting on the table in CBN, they must be encouraged, they must be expedited, they must conclude those transactions so that the FDIs can come in the immediate. Then also, government should look at encouraging manufacturers. How can they encourage them? the first thing they can do to manufacturing companies is that they must create a window where manufacturing companies can access dollars for their specific raw materials and specific industries that have direct impact on the prices of goods, on the production of certain essential products. They must give them window to access dollars at more affordable rates. That will encourage them to bring in some of these things.
All right.
Then also, government must tackle the issue of insecurity.
All right.
So that food can flow around the country.
All right, Francis. And thank you so much for your contribution there, Francis Osi Isedu, that's business analyst from Abuja, and also Kayode, Dayo Kayode, socio-political technocrat from Lagos. Gentlemen, once again, thank you for your time.
Pleasure to be here.